All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us on our Unite Stakeholder call. My name is Alex Gruber, and I am the Donor Relations Manager and Board Liaison here at Feeding San Diego. Throughout the duration of the call, if there are any questions you have, you can submit them using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, and we will address those toward the end of the call. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to hand it off.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Shea, the CEO of Feeding San Diego. And on behalf of the entire team at Feeding San Diego, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for what you have made possible. As the world around us continues to be upended, Feeding San Diego and the invaluable role you play in it takes on ever greater importance. People need our support, and not just for the food we provide, but for the hope we provide. So thank you for all you do. Feeding San Diego is committed to closing the meal gap over the next 3 years. We have put in place a 3-year strategic plan to guide the commitment, which includes expanding the agency partners to fill gaps in the region. That means tripling the number we currently have of agency partners from 325 to roughly 1,000, so we are better prepared for any future crisis, such as the pandemic, and to serve more intimately the communities that are underserved right now. We're also expanding the amount of food we distribute to families, and we fill in what we can't get to through agency partners with major distributions, which are held in big parking lots all around the county. And we focus on feeding 1,000 to 1,400 households at each and every major distribution that we do. We also are taking on some additional categories that we hadn't considered before, such as feeding hospital patients in partnership with the San Diego Padres and CureBound. Feeding San Diego is addressing the food insecurity that local hospital patients and families face due to loss of income. They're just as in need as everyone else, and with the layoffs and furloughs and so forth, they're more at risk than some. Previously known as Groceries for Good, this new program within Feeding San Diego will be a complimentary food pickup at a central San Diego location. Every registered attendee will receive about 50 pounds of food and get information on CalFresh for supplemental groceries available to them. The first distribution of that program will begin in the next 2 weeks. April is National Volunteer Month, and we are very appreciative of our volunteers this month and every single month. They are huge to what we do. We can't achieve our mission without them or you. And now that we're in the orange tier, we've opened up our volunteer positions and encourage you to sign up and help in the distribution center or one of our large scale distributions. We also are going to open up volunteer positions of a virtual nature to get help needed in the area of logistics, data analytics, community research into food insecurity, and other things that we have to study but don't have the staff to do. In March, we launched the Together Tour, which is a series of these large-scale distributions aimed at making fresh, nutritious food accessible to those in need in specific regions of San Diego County where the meal gap is most acute. There have been stops at the Pachinga Sports Arena, Legoland, North Island Credit Union and Amphitheater in Chula Vista, and Cal State University San Marcos and Southwestern College. Since the Together Tour, meaning that we're all in this together, we have distributed more than 520,000 pounds of food, which has supported more than 35,000 people. This, in addition to the impact we are having at all of our regular distributions and emergency distributions with partners in the community. Each distribution on the tour stop is set up to serve up to 1,400 households, and every registered attendee receives approximately 50 pounds of dry goods, fresh produce, and frozen protein loaded directly into their trunk. Nobody gets out of their car. Volunteers load up the cars, and they move very orderly through a system that we've set up in these large parking lots that we can serve from. In addition to food, recipients of the distributions receive information on how to access other Feeding San Diego distributions close to their homes, as well as I mentioned CalFresh and how that organization can help them as well. Here's an overview of it. Together Towards Stop and Action at Legoland, California result including what it means to people we serve, like Tammy, a hospitality worker. Alex, if you could run that video, please.
Grammarly can help you write quickly and confidently, so you never have to slow down at work. Stay on top.
From the start, obviously, Feeding San Diego have been doing some wonderful work throughout the pandemic. We reached out to them to see what we could do for our own staff, and I guess as the event grew, we saw the need to extend it to not only the hospitality industry, but those who needed the assistance through North County.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
We have a line of cars out here. Close to 1,200 people were planning to come through.
We have a good day.
I am just so happy that our organization is able to contribute back to our community by providing food from our donors and from our sponsors to be able to help people in need.
I'm extremely grateful. I've never been to anything like this.
It's wonderful to see so many volunteers out here working together to help those in our community through a really, really tough time.
This means a lot just to feed our kids.
This is about community helping community.
It's not a problem that's very well understood. It's silent because...
Great, thanks Alex for sharing that video, and Dan for those wonderful updates about the work of Feeding San Diego. So hi everyone, I'm Dana Henderson. I am the Director of Programs here at Feeding San Diego, and I will be providing some program updates for you all this afternoon. Slide. Okay, so as a key strength of Feeding San Diego lies in our countywide food rescue and distribution network. So we provide meals to the community through collaborations with over 320 community partners throughout San Diego County, including Lucky Duck Foundation, who we will have the opportunity to hear from next. And as Dan mentioned, we have added all of the stops on what we're calling our Together Tour to our Find Food map, which you can see here with the purple pin. And so folks can visit the map and register for those distributions as they pop up on the map. Further, we've added a few new distributions and we'd like to share those with you. So I already touched upon the Together Tour stops. In addition, we have started a new school pantry program at Monarch School. And if you haven't heard of Monarch or not familiar with it, they are a school that serves predominantly families and children facing homelessness. And they've been onboarded and have at least done one distribution and are planning for their next one shortly, getting food out to those families who are facing homelessness. So we've also started to work with a few new partners serving veterans or active duty military. One is called STEP, which stands for Support the Enlisted Project. And they began distributing as a new Feeding Heroes site recently. So STEP builds financial self-sufficiency among junior active duty enlisted members and recently discharged enlisted veterans and their families. And they did begin, as a side project, also distributing food as they saw the need for the people they were serving grow. And so we're really happy to be able to help support them with access to additional food resources for those families that they're serving. In addition, we will be working with a special distribution leading into Memorial Day weekend with Veterans Village and Us for Warriors. And this will be a distribution that uses formerly homeless veterans who are going to actually volunteer to help feed current veterans and active duty military families. If you're not familiar with Veterans Village, they serve homeless military veterans who will be helping they generally serve homeless military veterans. And as I mentioned, they will also be helping to distribute food to the other military families and vets who are in need and who will be attending this distribution. So finally, the San Diego Unified School District, we've been working with them for a number of months since the beginning of the pandemic, helping to provide food boxes and fresh produce alongside the school meals that they serve. And with the beginning of students returning back to the classroom, they've shifted some of their schools that they are serving. And so we will be shifting alongside with them. Still getting the same amount of food out to the community through these distributions, but focusing on some different school sites around the county, and then adding 3 additional San Diego Unified School District sites. And then one final one I want to touch on that isn't listed here is called StarPal, and they were previously a school meals site, and we hope to get them back to that at the beginning of the school year. But for now, they're going to be onboarded as a new Pantry site, and they're based out of City Heights, and they provide mentorship. And they also remove obstacles for youth in historically underserved communities. And they also work to promote ethical policing and cooperation in the process. So a lot of their programs focus on police working with the underserved students in City Heights area. And then Dan touched upon the Feeding Patients initiative in his earlier update. So as always, you can find a list of all of our available food distributions on our website at feedingsandiego.org, and click on Find Help and use our interactive Find Food map, which you see here, to locate a food distribution near you or for someone that you know who may need food assistance. Great, so moving on to our partner spotlight, we're excited to highlight a partnership we're very proud of. It's a partnership between Feeding San Diego, Lucky Duck Foundation, Salvation Army, and Starbucks. So Drew Moser, the Executive Director of Lucky Duck Foundation, is here with us today, as is Emiliano Cerda, one of the drivers for the Salvation Army. So thanks for joining us today, Drew and Emiliano. And before we turn the presentation over to Drew, we'd like to share with you a brief video about this partnership.
The Lucky Duck Foundation believes that working together to share and maximize resources is critical when addressing homelessness. And a new partnership between Feeding San Diego, the Salvation Army, Starbucks, and the Lucky Duck Foundation employs homeless individuals to do just that.
And in this time of the pandemic, the needs are greater now than they've ever been.
We've seen a about double, sometimes triple the need of people coming to us looking for food and that support.
We saw more families we have never seen before. We have even seen families that are shy about asking for help, but they have no other choice.
The Lucky Duck Foundation, as part of its region-wide employment and job training program for individuals experiencing homelessness, joined forces with Feeding San Diego, which rescues food from a number of sources, including restaurants and grocery stores. That's food that would otherwise be thrown out. As collaboration increased, so too did positive results. Recently, Starbucks joined the cause by donating thousands of pounds of food to Feeding San Diego. All of these green and orange bins are filled with food from Starbucks, and they come into Feeding San Diego's warehouse daily.
All right, am I up? Well, hey, it's great to be here with you today. My name is Drew Moser. I'm the Executive Director of the Lucky Duck Foundation. When we're done here, hopefully you can go to Feeding San Diego's website or our website and finish watching that video. It pretty thorough analysis or synopsis of what this program and collaboration is. But to jump right in here, our mission, plain and simple, is to alleviate the suffering of homelessness throughout San Diego. We believe that much like food insecurity and hunger, homelessness is at the top of the list of San Diego's most critical issues and pressing needs. And so at the end of the day, we raise money to fund, activate, and lead high impact programs that address homelessness throughout San Diego. And everything that we do is designed to lead San Diego to best practices in all areas of homelessness. We should have probably included our who at the bottom. Our co-founders, Pat and Stephanie Kilkenny, match all gifts up to $1 million per year made to the foundation. just extremely generous people that don't care about credit, they care about results. And then two other key players in everything that we do, Peter Seidler, the owner of the Padres, and then longtime business and civic leader in San Diego, who incidentally is the CEO of Feeding San Diego, Dan Shea, who's a silent giant and been instrumental in supporting Lucky Duck Foundation and so many of the things that we've been able to do. So to dive a little bit deeper on who we are and what we do, I think if we can jump to the next slide, please. It all boils down to kind of three different buckets if you put everything that we do, if you distill it all down. The first is leadership and systems change. We could spend an hour on those all those sub bullets there, but I won't bore you. The second thing we do is we try to take immediate action. There's some political leaders and others that, and there's some truth in this, but they talk about building our way out of this issue. Our views, that's kind of like telling a long line at Starbucks to hang on, we're going to get your coffee, but first we're going to go build another Starbucks location. Housing is critical, but we're all about getting people off the streets now and connected to bed and food and warm shower and the resources that exist. And then the third thing that we do is provide employment and empowerment opportunities. And that's really what this collaboration is about. Thanks to an anonymous $1 million gift that we received a little over a year ago. That gift was made specifically to fund programs that connect those that are experiencing homelessness with employment opportunities or job training so that they can increase their earning power and employability and support their efforts in their homelessness. And so that's what, if we can jump to the next slide, that's what this partnership is about. It's a collaboration between Lucky Duck Foundation, the Salvation Army, and Feeding San Diego. And the way it works is Salvation hires homeless individuals that are staying in their shelters, and it trains them to be food rescue route drivers. Started this, I believe, last fall, and it's only grown since then. Over 200,000 pounds of food have been rescued to date. On average, that's 30,000 pounds of food per month, but it's only growing. And that's really thanks to Feeding San Diego for feeding more, no pun intended, more routes to Salvation Army so they can go out and rescue more food. And that food then goes to folks that are homeless or on the brink. And so it's currently 8 different routes. It's grocery stores like Smart and Final and Costco, but it's also Starbucks and Amazon warehouses. And this is something where it's a classic example of, in my view, where 1 + 1 equals something much greater than 2. And it's thanks to the partnership with Salvation Army and Feeding San Diego. We're thrilled with the results so far and just grateful for these organizations to come together and not care about credit, but care about results. And so the best part of this deal is I'm going to quit talking and I'm going to introduce Emiliano, who's one of the drivers that's been able to participate in this program, who has an incredible story, which is why I encourage you to watch the video, but you can also hear it straight from him as well, to the extent he wants to share about what this program means to him. We're just cheering for Emiliano and really proud of what he's been able to do. So Emiliano, go for it.
Thank you, Drew. Okay, so, as you said, my name is Emiliano Cerda. For myself, right, I spent a lot of time on the streets. I spent a lot of time in and out of jails and in and out of prisons, right? I finally was able to get some hold of life again when I was sent to the Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Program. I went from there and now I'm in another shelter of the Salvation Army. But through things that I've done to my life, I've had background. I've had things where a lot of jobs will not work for me because they won't accept the background checks. Now, coming into this program through Lucky Duck and through Feeding San Diego, I was able to finally get a job. And as of today, I started off in this position, doing about 20 hours per week, and then it just kept expanding. The routes kept expanding. And as of today, I work about 40 plus hours per week. And essentially what this keeps doing for me is it keeps me with a job and with less time by myself. I'm able to do these routes today, right? And I get to see how much this program helps other people out here. You know, I go through different corps of the Salvation Army. I go through different routes, like he just said. I go through Amazon, I go through Costco, Vaughn, Smart and Final, Target every week, and I get to see where this food goes. I get to help out in the food pantry where they actually give this food to people with economic insecurities right now. And some of these people I know, some of these people I was on the streets homeless with. And as of today, I get to be somebody who is available to be helping. I get to be out here doing these things that I've never done before. And all these things have happened through this program, through these things that Feeding San Diego, through Lucky Duck, and through Salvation Army have given me today. And as far as I still can see, it just keeps growing, right? They send me these emails, and I get to see different routes I'm available to do. And some of the times I'm not even able to do all the routes. That's just how far I can see that this thing is expanding and how much this program has helped me today. And I think that's it.
Wow, Emiliano, thank you so much for sharing such a heartfelt story and firsthand account. And Drew, thank you so much for joining us as well. The work that the Lucky Duck Foundation is doing along with the Salvation Army is really, really amazing. And we're really proud to be your partner in such a special initiative. So thank you for joining us on our call today. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about Feed People, Not Landfills. My name is Dana Williams, and I am the Director of Marketing and Communications for Feeding San Diego. And this April is Earth Month. Alex, actually, if you could just go to the next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So this April, in honor of Earth Month and to celebrate our mission to end hunger through food rescue, we have launched a campaign called Feed People, Not Landfills. And this campaign is really designed to help educate San Diegans about the importance of food rescue and how it really is beneficial for both people and the planet. If I could just share some staggering statistics, but before that, due to the pandemic, hundreds of thousands of people are facing hunger across San Diego County, and yet 35% of all food produced in the United States is wasted, which is really bananas. Refed in 2019, they've recently come out with some research, and they said that the value of all of the food wasted in just the year 2019 in the United States alone, the value of that wasted food accounted for over $400,000 billion, and it could have produced over 4 billion meals for people facing hunger. That amount of money and that amount of meals is staggering. It accounts for over 2% of our gross domestic product, and it also accounts for 4% of all greenhouse gas emissions that were emitted by the United States. And that's just on food that was unsold and uneaten. Food waste is harmful to people and the planet. So what Feeding San Diego, what our mission is to rescue good food. Our mission is to end hunger through food rescue. And how we do it is we rescue good food before it goes to waste from over 600 food donors across San Diego County, and from over 225 farms and packing sheds throughout California. And we get that food into the hands of people facing hunger. In 2020, well, since the pandemic, actually, from March 2020 through to the end of February, you have helped us distribute more than 32 million meals to people facing hunger across San Diego County. And despite disruptions to the food supply chain, and as well as due to the fact that we've had to purchase more food than ever before, despite these factors, 70% of all the food we've distributed in the last year has been rescued. And in fiscal 2020, so last fiscal year, we were able to divert more than 27 million pounds of good food from going into the landfill, and instead diverted it to get it into the hands of people facing hunger. That allowed us to avert nearly 25,000 metric tons of CO2 emissions from being emitted into the atmosphere, which is the equivalent of taking about 5,300 cars off the road. So we're really proud of the fact that not only are we a hunger relief organization, but we're also helping the planet. And this commitment to our mission has actually recently earned us recognition from the United Nations Association of San Diego. And this is an honor we're really proud of. They named us a Sustainable Development Goals champion, and we were the first organization that they've ever awarded this designation to. And it is because we're aligned with 4 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, including zero hunger, climate action, responsible consumption and production, and also partnerships. So we're really proud of this designation. And I guess I really just want all of you to know that when you support Feeding San Diego as a community partner, as a food donor, as a financial donor, or as a staff member or a volunteer, you are not only helping to feed people in San Diego County, and you're not only helping to align with the County of San Diego's climate action plan, but you're also aligning and supporting global goals of the United Nations. So thank you very much for that. On the next slide, Alex, if you wouldn't mind, thank you. There's a lot of different ways that the community can get involved and help us feed people, not landfills, this month and also throughout the year. But right now, one of the ways is you can help double your impact. We're very grateful to a very generous match by the David C. Copley Foundation. And every dollar donated throughout this week is going to be doubled, or is going to be matched dollar for dollar up to $25,000. So this is a great time if you're thinking of a gift to Feeding San Diego. In addition, this Thursday, we're going to be hosting a free film screening of the movie Wasted. This movie was produced by the late Anthony Bourdain, and it's just a really insightful glimpse into the danger of and the problem of food waste, and what a number of chefs, as well as people around the world, what they're doing to help mitigate that. So we would love for you to join us. You can register for that, and that's taking place on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And we will be joined actually by Bettina Hausman, the president of the United Nations Association of San Diego, who will help us kick off the night, or the screening with a few remarks from her perspective. As well as Dan alluded to, now that we've entered into the orange tier, we have opened up a number of volunteer opportunities, and we are definitely in need of volunteers. So please go to feedingsandiego.org, and in our Get Involved section, you'll see the different opportunities that you can get involved with to volunteer. And one of those really special opportunities is to also be a Meal Connect driver. We train volunteers on food safety, and this is an opportunity where we're helping to rescue small-scale food that might be donated from a hotel or a restaurant or a convenience store. Instead of having it go in the garbage, they'll alert Feeding San Diego through our Meal Connect app, and then we send a trained volunteer driver to go pick up the food, and we connect that food with one of our community partners who gets the food into the hands of people in need. So lots of opportunities to get involved and to help feed people, not landfills. Finally, I just want to mention that we were a proud partner of San Diego Restaurant Week this past week, and we activated that partnership with our Give a Meal program. And in February, we launched this new campaign called Give a Meal. And what it is, it's an opportunity for restaurants across San Diego County to sign up. It's free to sign up, and all they do is they add a $15 give a meal menu item to their menu. And then consumers, when they're placing their own order at the restaurant, they can just add a $15 give a meal item to their menu. And then the restaurants, essentially, it's helping to drive extra revenue for the restaurants. And then that meal is made and prepared with love by the restaurant, and it's donated to Feeding San Diego. So when restaurants collect 5 or more of these donations, they alert Feeding San Diego through the Meal Connect app, and we send a driver to go pick up the meals and to get it to people facing hunger. And I'm proud to say that even in just a few short weeks since launching this program, we already have over 27 restaurants that are participating across San Diego County. And those restaurants alone have already sold and donated 600 meals for people facing hunger. So we encourage any restaurant that would still like to participate to go to feedingsandiego.org/give-a-meal and to sign up. This is going to be an ongoing initiative that is meant to help support our amazing restaurants across San Diego County who have been hit so hard by the pandemic, while also supporting those facing hunger. So this is going to be an ongoing campaign throughout the year, and we would love any restaurants to still sign up. And consumers, for all of you, you can go on to our website to see which restaurants are participating and then to show them your love by supporting their venues. Okay, that is it for me. I'm going to turn it back over to Alex at this point. Thanks.
Thanks. So to kind of bank off of what Dana was saying about the website, we actually just recently had the pleasure of releasing or sharing with everybody our revamped website. And our marketing and communications team, everybody that helped put this together, did a wonderful job. And we really want to highlight 2 of the bigger things you can do on our website. We really want to kind of guide your attention to either getting help or giving help. And so things are designed with that in mind to try and help you find whatever it is that you might need. So it could be things like find food. So finding that map that Dana Henderson was talking about earlier, where you can find any of our different food locations across the county, as well as making a gift of funds. It could be that you're trying to find a way to give your time as well. So you can start a fundraiser, you can find information on volunteering, you can find information on how to spread the word. So things like our fun Zoom backgrounds or how to get involved with sharing your voice. And then things like our benefit campaigns as well. So ways that corporations or things like cash register asks are coming up. So you can try to join in with these corporations that are supporting their cause as well. And all of this can be found on feedingsandiego.org, still the same website. And with that all being summed up, I feel like we can hop on into our Q&A section. So I've already seen a few questions coming through, and I'll start with one of them. And it was, how are you selecting locations for the large scale distributions? And I'm not sure if we want to have maybe Dan kick that one off here.
Yeah, I thought you said Drew. So we're looking all over the county, ones that we know, like the big parking lots, whether they be sports arena, SeaWorld, the universities that have big parking lots, Legoland, the amphitheater, different colleges. And I just recently sent a letter to all of the supervisors saying that we have a small staff. We don't know everything in every single district, and have asked them for help. And they've committed to having a staff member look around what's the needs in their supervisorial districts. And they have started making some suggestions. So any place in the county that's got a space big enough to line up 1,000 cars, that eventually gets split into 4 to 6 lanes of traffic for volunteers to load up the cars, is what we're looking for. So any and all suggestions that you all may have, we want to hear about them. And then if you can help us get in to see somebody we haven't met yet, that's always helpful too. So we're just continuing to look for more and more places.
And if I could actually just build on what Dan just mentioned, we also work very closely in partnership with the San Diego Hunger Coalition, and they have done a lot of research around the hotspots of hunger across San Diego County. So we've really been also looking at those areas that have the most acute need and then really focusing our attention on some of those areas. So Imperial Beach and Chula Vista as two examples are areas that are in a lot of need. And so that's why, again, some of our decisions of where we've gone throughout the county are really based on, some of those hot spots of where the meal gap is the most acute.
Great. Okay. And then another question that came in has to do with recycling efforts. So what becomes of the boxes used to deliver food? What kind of recycling programs do we have? Is there any focus on plant-based items when we purchase food? If anyone can elaborate on this, maybe either of our Danas or Dan.
So we are really focused on recycling as much as possible. We actually received an award from the city of San Diego for a recycling award last year. I wish that Clint Dooley, our facilities manager, was on the call and he could get into the specifics, but we are very conscientious about recycling all of the boxes that we receive. And another really interesting thing too is that any food that is not fit for human consumption, that might be moldy and that we can't send out into the community. We've actually started a partnership with a local farmer in Alpine, and he comes and picks up all of the moldy food and he uses it to feed livestock. The EPA not recently, but the EPA has created a strategy for all the most effective ways to reduce waste. And the number two, next to reducing sources, the source of waste, the second most important strategy is to feed people who are hungry. And the third most important is to feed animals. And so again, that's just another example of how we're really focused on eliminating waste wherever possible. So whether that's recycling or getting food that is not fit for human consumption into the hands of local farmers.
All right, and then a reminder as well that you are welcome to ask questions of our guest panelists too. And then another one that came up was, have we seen a change in registration or the need to access food with the county reopening?
So I'll take that one. We haven't yet seen a change. We anticipate seeing a small change, but as you've probably seen on the news, that with the county reopening, that creates other problems with people having to make a decision between going back to work or taking the new government incentive checks that are out there. So I fear that we're not going to see the decline as quickly as we might otherwise, and the county isn't going to open up overnight and have everything fall into place. This need is going to be there for a long time, and the pandemic will be over long before the economic turmoil is over. So from everything that we work on and try to look at provided government figures, we're looking 2 to 3 years in the future to not have big declines, but very subtle declines. So we're going to be feeding people for a very long time at higher levels than we ever have.
And actually, if I could just actually to add on to that, we recently had the Vice President of the San Diego Tourism Authority on one of our calls, and she shared that data has come out from economists here in San Diego County, and they're predicting a 5-year recovery horizon for some of the hardest hit industries, such as the hospitality industry. So to Dan's point, we're really, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and we're really doing everything that we can to prepare for a long recovery horizon that will last over the next number of years.
Okay. Another one is asking if we can explain a little bit more about some of the different volunteer opportunities, kind of how many more volunteers we think we're going to need, just some of the different efforts required to help accomplish what we need to.
So in writing the strategic plan of where we have to go to be better suited to serve the community in the long term and in any future crisis, we set a goal of, before the pandemic, we had, if I remember right, about 10 to 12,000 volunteers on the record or on the books who we could call on for help. And we've been devising a new look at that and have come up with a very ambitious goal to essentially triple that number over the next 3+ years in order to get the entire community involved in bite-sized pieces where they can contribute. So in talking to our volunteer staff folks, I asked them how many hours a month do people volunteer? And the answer was, well, 4 to 6 a week is what we try to capture. And what I've suggested is that we try to capture 4 to 6 hours a month, leaving lots of room for other people to participate in areas, that they can participate in. In the past, it's been largely physical on-site at distributions, helping in the community. But as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be focused on finding virtual ways for people to take maybe their retired people to take a career they worked in, whether it be logistics or data or any number of things that we just can't afford to have staff for, begin doing projects. So we think we can hit that large number in the next 3 to 4 years. And I think we need to get the entire community involved and letting everybody know that it's a community effort. It's not just a Feeding San Diego effort.
All right, great. So another one that came in is asking how the pandemic has affected the homeless community. I don't know, Drew, if you want to step in on that one a little bit as well.
You're on mute, Drew.
There we go. Sure. So I think 2 things. Our group advocated for moving folks that were in bridge shelters to the convention center so they could be adequately spaced and a much safer, more spread out environment. But that actually also enabled more people who were on the streets to move into shelter. I think in the end, that's, from my perspective, a great example of underutilized at the time government property to shelter people, and we need to do more of that. Secondly, we were able to start a food and water program along with the Equality International Foundation to provide food and water to folks living on the streets, since so many of the community and faith-based feedings went away. So we started by feeding 400 people a day. We're up to over 1,000 people or 1,100 people per day now, and just eclipsed 500,000 meals. And that's an example where I can say the silent giant Dan Shea was closely involved in getting that program off the ground and bringing the right partners into the mix to make it happen. I think those are 2 examples of how we've sort of pivoted to try to help folks on the streets during COVID.
All right, and then another one just popped in. It is, where and how do I register for the film screening of the movie Wasted?
Okay, so if you go to our website at feedingsandiego.org and you go into Get Involved and then Support a Campaign, you'll see the campaign name of Feed People Not Landfills, and on that landing page there is a link to the screening. And we can also I'll try and find it right now and just also drop it in the chat. But we would love to have you join us, so please do register.
Okay, and then another that came in is, are there any more calls like this?
Yes, actually, these are quarterly calls that we do once a quarter. The next call is in July. I don't have the date right in front of me, but it's usually the 3rd Tuesday of every month, or of every quarter month. And so again, if you go into feedingsandiego.org and get involved, there'll be a tab about our Unite Stakeholder calls. And we would love it if you would register for those calls, and then you'll be notified every time there is a new call coming up and that you can add to your calendar. So thank you. Great question. I'll put that link in the chat as well.
Perfect. So that was the last of the questions we have now. I do want to leave it open a minute here just in case anybody has anything else they'd like to submit, so we can try to answer everything you have. Just in case we do get cut off from questions, you can also submit them to info@feedingsandiego.org. And that is our general email address box, and we can address anything that you may have in there as well. So I'll give it just another few seconds here if anyone wants to send anything in. And it looks like Dana is trying to send in the links for the registration to Wasted as well as the other Unite calls. So that way we can have that all in your chat box ready to go.
I'm not exactly sure, Alex, how to drop it in. So I'm going to give it to you, and then if you could just share it with everybody.
Perfect. Yep, I'll get that plugged in here. And then we do have another question that came in. It's asking more about the plant-based food items where possible. Hopefully less expensive and healthier options too to provide to the community. So what are we working on to try and get some of those worked into our distributions?
Dan or Dana Henderson, are you able to take that? It's more of a sourcing question.
Yeah, I'll let Dana take that one.
Sure. So for the items that we are purchasing, we follow our nutrition. We have a purchasing, we have a nutrition policy which guides what we purchase. And so within that are specifications for levels of sodium, levels of sugar, and what type of food that we would prioritize when purchasing. And though we do purchase some meat-based protein, the majority of what we purchase is plant-based, either plant-based proteins, vegetables, or fruit. And then we are also purchasing things such as whole grain spaghetti, lentils, things of that nature. And so we're able to accommodate different diets and or folks who are visiting our distribution sites are able to kind of be able to accommodate what diets that they may have. When it comes to food that's donated, the majority of the food that's donated to us is produce, which is excellent and extremely healthy. Other donated items we don't have as much control over, but we are always looking to get the healthiest and most nutritious items into our distribution center, especially now that we have higher instances of hunger and new people facing hunger. And so, so nutrition is a key priority of ours when looking at our overall procurement plan and how we're bringing food into the warehouse, and then also how we're getting it out into the community.
Great, thanks, Dana. So just to confirm, the links to both of the videos as mentioned should be in the chat box now. We have the first one, the Zoom webinar register. That'll be for the wasted screening, Dana, it looks like. And then the feedingsandiego.org/get-involved. That one will be where you can go to register for the upcoming Unite calls, which, as Dana mentioned, are on a quarterly basis. And that is the last of our questions here. So I'm going to start wrapping it up. Again, info@feedingsandiego.org. If you do have any other questions come up, we'll vet that to the proper person on our team to get that answered for you. And I will leave my bit here by saying thank you, everyone, for joining today.